Welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV, where we are currently in House Fortemps in Ishgard for a special quest chain. The Paths We Walk. Deep in thought, the House Fortemps manservant reflects upon a day not so very long ago. It was bitterly cold when you first came to our city, when I stood waiting for you before the Ark of the Worthy. To think that was where it all began? How much has changed since that day? Forgive me, of late I've been studying the works of a Belladian poet king who wrote, "To ye who ask of things to come, give thought to what is past and gone." So rarely have we the luxury to reflect on the choices we have made, on how they've shaped our lives and the lives of others. Even I, a mere steward, whose deeds would not merit a footnote in the annals of history, can see the value in this. I say this to you, Mistress Klingor, because as you move on, so too does the world. Pray spare a moment to contemplate your journey while you can. The road stretches on, obscured by an endless veil of snow. Somewhere in the right beyond stood the great iron gates, and on the other side a humble manservant who awaited the coming of free travelers. Yeah. This is Reminiscing about Heavensward. I think I have recorded this storyline before, but I think this was one of the episodes that died to my hardware crash back in the day and was never properly uploaded. A warm welcome to you, Mrs. Klingor. To what do I owe the pleasure? Just reminiscing about the things. Retracing your steps from those first days in Ishgard. I see. Well, no one can begrudge you for indulging in a little nostalgia. I'm reminded how much I owe to you and yours. Lest you forget, foreign merchants were subject to a frankly unreasonable level of scrutiny until relatively recently. Not so now, however. Now goods from every corner of Eorzea flow into our markets. And that, my friend, is change we can all appreciate. Merchants of all nations speak a common tongue, and its word, a coin. Needless to say, there's little profit to be had in prejudice, especially against those who have received the patronage of a count. Thus, when the wards of House Fortemps arrived, she was glad to make their acquaintance. To the Forgotten Night. What'll it be then? Ale? Mulled wine? No, don't tell me. Tea? Ah, so it's to be memories then, is it? Now there's a bit of drought that'll leave you wanting. Assuming you can remember your own name by this. Take your friend Tataru. One moment she's just another girl, waiting on customers, clearing tables and so forth, and next she had got a dozen admirers asking after her every bloody night. And I'll be damned if I can remember how it happened. Singing was stupid songs, dancing was stuffed dances. Though to be honest, I think it was her stories that really won him over. Stories of a certain hero's grand adventures across Eorzea, told with a flair that put a minstrel to shame. Who doesn't love a good hero's tale, am I right? Hells, we even got one about the man who built this tavern. Was one of the founding fathers of Ishgard, or so it goes. Now, as we in Chiridian told it, besides are the only knights who survived a battle with Nidhogg were the founders of the high houses. Of course, these days we all know better than put too much stock in the words of a church, eh? True. But there's more to our tale than just words. There's a sword too. One which has been passed down from proprietor to proprietor since before anyone can remember. She's a rusty old bugger, but if you look closely at her handle, you can just about make out an inscription. Brothers brave and true, live well, forgotten and content. A man who forsook wealth and fame and chose the life of a humble tavern keeper. It's just a tale, of course. I'll be a good one. As for the truth, who can say, friend? Who can say? He knew everyone's story, but he would never share his own. An optimist, he wanted to believe in the best in people. Sometimes that faith would be rewarded, other times betrayed. But he would listen, regardless, and he would hope. Visit Lanyatan Camp, Cloudtop. Mistress Klingor, I was but this moment thinking of you. I'd hoped to speak with you at Sir Emeric's investiture, but circumstances conspired to prevent me from attending. Maybe you will allow me to say now what I could not say then? On behalf of House Hylanat and all of Ishgard, I offer unto you my deepest and most humble thanks. You risked your life to stand against our sworn enemy and freed us from a millennium of torment. But we can never hope to repay you. We will ever remember you and your deeds, that our children and their children's children might know the woman to whom they owe their lives. I consider the grand investiture would have been a more fitting occasion for such words, but I could not risk them being left unspoken. What brings you this way? As you can see, Camp Cloudtop remains much the same as it did during the war. But we need no longer watch the skies for the Vanian outflyers. The Vanu have proven themselves similarly worthy of our attention. I say, old girl, you have the most uncanny ability to appear whenever I least expect you. But enough about that, Onua? Ah yes, my lord, Lady Lanyat, I'm pleased to report that we succeeded in infiltrating Wundu territory and we observed the beasts when harvesting crystals at several different sites. Based on the volume of crystals acquired during our period of surveillance, I have prepared an estimate on how much time I believe it will take Wundu to gather sufficient crystals for another summoning. I've also taken the liberty of drafting several proposals outlining how the Rose Knights might prevent such an eventuality, such as raiding these sites and securing their stores, as well as a detailed assessment of the risks involved should you choose to proceed. By the Fury, I gathered you were clever, but I was not aware you were capable of this. With respect, you're wasted on your master. Hardworking, full of potential, I think there's a place for you here with the Rose Knights, if you would have it. That you would even consider taking me into your service is a tremendous honor, my lady, and were I free to do so, I should gladly accept, but I'm pledged to another, as you well know. Regrettable, but understandable. I take comfort in the fact that a youth of your talent and character will never want more opportunities. Pledged to another, you rascal. I thought I saw you whispering in young Solette's ear the other day. You certainly wasted no time wooing our newest mate. There will be no secrets between us. You must tell me everything. The way you've been sneaking off together. What adventures you've been having. Every little detail, and don't you dare leave anything out. I'm sure you will not. In any event, you have jointly exceeded my expectations. I grant you leave to return to the city. Should the need arise, I shall call upon you again. Thank you, my lady. I believe we shall do as you suggest. Until we meet again, Mistress Klingor. Not so fast! The next airship isn't due for another hour. We have so much to talk about. Au revoir! Au revoir! For all the lady's disdain, it was an old, familiar dance. To her, Lord Mannerlane would always be the boy fumbling for a compliment. And perhaps there was comfort in that. A memory of home on the bleak frontier. And the other direction, Sir Redwald and Falcon's Nest. A thousand pardons, Mr. Stringnor. Had I known you were planning to pay us a visit, I would have seen that you received a proper reception. A feast perhaps, or at least a formal welcome with a man in full dress. Utterly unnecessary. You have more than earned it. One need only look to the pilgrims who come in their droves to pray before we leave to see the truth of that. Some abide in silence, while others shed tears. Not for sorrow, you understand, but for joy. Joy at being released from Nidok's torment. And of course Attorel is currently here. Sir Redwald, the shipment has been unloaded and the quartermaster confirms that all supplies are accounted for. Mrs. Klingor, are you here on official business? Just reminiscing. A journey to remember and reflect. Aye, much has changed since we came here together, since I abandoned you to follow the heretic's trail alone. Come, my lord, maybe you recall the survivor whom you carried back to Falcon's Nest that day? Well, his wife but recently gave birth to their first child. Is that so? Well, maybe I should pay him a visit. Though he would doubtless be honored, my lord, you do not push yourself to such trouble. Your responsibilities as Count surely leave little enough time as it is. Think not on that. I'm still me and you're still you. Whatever our respective titles, I would speak to you as a friend. This preoccupation with position and power has sown no end of discord between our two houses, to the great detriment of our nation. 'Tis especially galling when one considers that much of what we have achieved was by virtue of our blood and not our character. So call me Count if you must, but know that I take no pride in it. Maybe one day, when I've earned it, I will, but not today. Still himself, is he? So it seems. An honorable man, mindful of tradition, he was loath to accept the assistance of a foreigner in exile. But when forced to confront bitter truths, he looked within and found himself wanting. Pride be damned then if it led one astray. He would set aside his prejudices and join hands with his gifted outcast for the greater good of Ishgard. And to the Inquisition, for the memory of our battle for Alvino and Tataru. Two fallen heretics against two knights of Heavensward. Under the watchful gaze of a fury they would fight, and the winner's claims would be proven true. It was the opening gambit of a greater game whose stakes would remain unknown for some time. Good day to you, miss. Salon's blessing be upon you. You are Mrs. Klingor, if I'm not mistaken. We have met, though I'm sure you do not remember. It was a seeming lifetime ago when you answered the Archbishop's summons. I often come here to reflect upon all that has come to pass. When I saw you gazing at the holy vault, I thought perhaps you had too. You turned our world upside down. Everything we held dear. For change. For the truth. They say it had to be done, but this grace sought godhood. If so, then perhaps it was the Fury's will that you prevail. But to say it, to believe it, I know that no man is without sin, but he was pious and humble, wholly devoted to the church and to his people. I knew him, miss, and he was a good man. Whatever else he may have been, I will remember him as a good man. To walk the righteous path, to live for the sake of others, to rise to the highest station yet remain powerless to bring an end to your people's suffering. What prized salvation then? What sacrifice beyond reason? For uneasy lies the head that wears a crown. Visit Merlwhip. Desiree, this is most unexpected. Do you have business with the Admiral? I'm just wandering around reminiscing about the events of Heavensward. A journey of remembrance itself. Well, far be from me to deny you. Honest or not, I suspect the Admiral would be most displeased if she heard I had turned you away. Thank the Navigator, I resigned myself to another day spent listening to my advisors prattle on about the Beastman's latest movement. Come this way, tell me of your adventures. The Ishgardians sail in uncharted waters. I hope these newer forms of theirs meet with no resistance. It would not be the first grand voyage to run afoul of reefs ere it properly began. But with Sir Emmerich at the helm, they may yet chart a course for generations to follow. Which is not to say our own does need counseling. The Alliance has grown complacent. A bloody nose you gave us at the melee showed me that. Nor have I forgotten the lessons of a banquet. Rest assured, we will root out any further turncoats before the dagger is at our back. You have my word on that, and Lady Yukiri is beside. She had never been one to retreat, much less in the face of transparent theatrics. But this had been no ordinary battlefield, its rules of engagement anything but clear. So she would watch, and she would learn, and in time, she would act. Never again, Desiree. Never again. Kikiri and Revenant's Toll. Now officially, as far as I am, the Domans already moved back home, right? But this is a time bubble. Mistress Desiree, is aught amiss? No, I'm just on a journey of reminiscence. I'm both flattered and surprised that you should remember my small role in this tale, given the grandeur of your subsequent endeavors. But I must confess to having derived some selfish pleasure from donning the garments of a shinobi once more. I'm honored to have been able to assist in freeing General Rauban from his captivity. I believe I speak for all of my countrymen when I say that we are most grateful to have been granted the opportunity to contribute to the restoration of a science. Much has changed, 'tis true, and much may never be as it once was. But in watching you and yours rise from the ashes and rebuild, I'm reminded that we must never give in to despair, for there's always something which may yet be saved. The oaths we swear. To the paths we walk, the oaths we swear. Will you be traveling to Ul'dah next? If so, I would ask a favor of you. I prepared a special onion to aid in General Rauban's rehabilitation. Injuries such as his must be tended to daily, even long after they have healed. You need only deliver it to his man, Commander Swift. He will see that the Flame General receives it. Few shinobi have the fortitude and strength of will to return to the battlefield after suffering so grievous an injury. Not only do they struggle to adapt their techniques, but many complain of strange, inexplicable acts. Should General Rauban experience them, it is my hope that this unguent will help. Greetings, Captain Klingor. What is it you have there? Dome and Unguent. Unguent? I was not aware the General required such stuff. One of our Doman friends made this for him, did she? Very well, I shall be sure to pass it on. Actually, wait here. We have just this moment concluded the meeting, and I expect he would be glad to speak with you before returning to the palace. So, Commander Swift tells me you came all this way to deliver Unguent? Daily, she says. Ha! Well, mayhap it's best to be prudent. The gods alone know why you agreed to deliver it for her, though. Unless you mean to favor me with a rematch I requested? I jest, lass. You're on a journey of reflection, are you not? I never said as much. And now you want to relive a moment you pulled me from a pit Ilbert left me in the rot? It shames me to think of it. It was so blind to his hatred. Loreto tells me that it was not always so. That Ilbert admitted to him he once believed that I would return to Alamigo at the head of an army. But years passed and I did nothing. For all my accomplishments, for all my wealth, power and influence, I did naught to better the plight of my people. Not for lack of trying, but Ilbert did know. He thought the bull of Alamigo had grown fat and complacent, that my story set a bad example for our countrymen. Forget your homeland and chase the Uldan dream. A fine, impossible dream, which gave men the strength to endure their hardships and try to make new lives of themselves here. So the dream had to die. He would kill me, stir up the disillusioned, arm them at the monetarist expense, and then... Forgive me, the science paid the price for my failings. The gods know I have no shortage of debts to repay, of vows to keep and duties to discharge. But mark me well, lass, there will be a reckoning. Mayhap not today, mayhap not tomorrow, but a reckoning there will be. A refugee of a fallen nation, he had risen from the depths of poverty to claim a seat on the syndicate. Yet for all his great deeds, one was left undone. And like sand through an hourglass, the years slipped away, taking with him an old friend's hope. Back to the Western Highlands. And the Gorgania Mills where we met Isel. Well, this is probably already about the search for her with Alphino and Estinian. By the Fury, is that you, Mrs. Klingor? Forgive me, but what reason could you possibly have for returning to this god's forsaken place? Maybe it is fate that brings you here on this day of introspection and reflection. We are come to Gorgania Mills to accept the surrender of a half-dozen heretics who once fought for Lady Aesart. If you're intending to visit the cellars, I would ask that you do nothing to unsettle them. Rumors of a general amnesty for Lady Aesart's followers have caused no small amount of dissent in the ranks. It was not so long ago that they were ambushing our convoys after all. But as to be a choice between reconciliation and return to violence, I choose reconciliation. Penitent Heretic. Wait, I know you. You were at the amphitheater with the Dragon Slayer. I suppose we owe you an apology. When you came to us seeking to parley, we were sure it was a scheme to lure out our lady. We were sure about a lot of things. When she first shared her revelation, and she told us that she was not Saint Shiva reborn, we assumed it was a test. Well, had we not prayed for salvation? Had she not ascended to deliver us from evil? She replied that our prayers were but fuel for a fever dream, a construct born of desperation and denial. She was no savior, she said. But when we marched upon Ishgard regardless, she pulled us from the brink of oblivion and implored us to find another way. And here we are, ready to lay down our arms at last. It's time. She considered you a friend. Had things had been different, mayhap we could have been friends too. Farewell. Forsaken by gods and men, they found salvation in the revelation. They would take up arms against their own kind to set ancient wrongs to right, cut out Ishgard's festering heart, and the war would be over. This they knew, believed with all their being, until their savior told them their efforts would be for naught. And to the convictors now. Well, if it is the great warrior of light herself, she who slew the dreadworm Nidhogg, bringing an end to 1,000 years of war, and my very livelihood. Well, go on then, strike me down and finish the job. Stab me right in the heart, I'll even lend you my spear if you like. After all, I won't be bloody needing it. Tell me true, for a moment I had you fooled. Ye gods, as if I could hate the woman who rid us of Nidhogg. Oh, and lest you worry, that business about me losing my livelihood couldn't have been further from the truth. And by the fact, peace is proving surprisingly lucrative. As our nation's ties with Raceway Rasbrut have grown stronger and our interests in Ravani have begun to expand, we have seen a marked increase in the number of travelers on the road. Needless to say, said travelers require protection, which we are only too happy to provide. Granted, such work will not earn you a lordship like slaying a dragon might, but it pays well and is far less prone to end in incineration, which seems a reasonable enough compromise, all things considered. As long as there are wars to fight, there will be those who take up arms, not out of hatred or even a sense of duty, but for want of better employment. When presented with an alternative, such individuals may gladly trade their swords for scythes, or failing that, pledge them to a more worthy cause. And to Telfeather, in the Ravanian Forelands. Something the matter, lass? Nav giving you trouble? No, just reminiscing. A journey of remembrance, huh? Gods, it feels like only yesterday that Giselle turned up in Telfeather with you in tow. Back into our lives and gone all too soon. Did I ever tell you how we found her 5 years back? In a torpor out in the forest all by her lonesome. Well, we weren't about to leave her there, so we carried her back here and tended to her till she woke up. Didn't say a word for days, Giselle. Just sat there and stared up at the sky as if the ground held nothing for her. And it didn't, we learned, and she finally spoke. Now, you might think that she's not one to smile, But if you'd seen her in those years that followed... Then one day all of a sudden she says she's got a truth that must be shared. Up and leaves for God knows where. And that was the last we heard of her, for a time. Redemption is not beyond us, friends. Come and hear the truth. Come and hear the Lady Iceheart speak. And they did, from far and wide. Or so the story went. Some said there was nothing in it, but I knew. I knew. I think this way that deep down most folk want to do right by themselves and by others. And they try, oh how they try. You do certainly, and so did she. The legacies we leave. So the paths we walk, the oaths we share, the legacies we leave. Apologies, you came here to think on your own memories, not listen to mine. I take it enough next? Right then. If you're to do this properly, you need to gather up your incentives, same as before. In case you've forgotten, that's a basket of fresh Calum tree fruit, a good-sized jar of landtrap nectar, and a dirty great cartload of your young Nunca flesh. Come on, lass. Sure you can't be that bloody daft. You're more than welcome in the village already. Safe travels. Storyteller. Click, click. Hunter of dragons and gods, I bid you welcome. What would you ask of me this eve? Once we'd have had no conception of what you speak. The one mind does not forget, but we do. It can be most distressing. To remember is not enough. One must strain and give words to memory, and inscribe words upon parchment. This is the chronicler's calling. He wrote of how you came to Lossa's Vath, and how you left to slay Ravana, and how the young hunter trained with the old hunter while you were away. We shall treasure these memories, this history you have given us, and when new Vath join us, we shall share it with them as well. Bound no longer by the will of the many, they were now free to walk their own path. Thus reborn, they would write the first chapter of the new history to be passed on to future generations. As their culture grew older and richer, so too would their story. Visit Vidofnir. Friend of Giselle, warrior of warriors, thou art ever welcome in our next shrine. What bringeth thee to us this night? A journey of reminiscence. There's much wisdom to be gained from looking to the past, to walk half-remembered paths and mark anew their twists and turns. We too do this, though not through pilgrimage, nor less a written word beloved of our historians. In song, we do preserve the deeds of our lost and chronicle the passing of the ages. Naught hath greater power to stir our hearts. It was a dirge of profoundest sadness that roused Nidok's brood to action. A dirge which soundeth no more. Now a new song rises to fill the void, one of hope rekindled, of war's end and peace's rebirth. I shall sing of thee and Giselle ever after, that all may know and remember. In the chorus, the fallen could rise once more, for none were dead whose names yet echo in the heavens, and the song would not end until the last voice fell silent. Heroes and villains, sinners and saints, all would live again. Visit Moglin. Okay, Chief Moglin. Well, yank my pump and call me a molebat. I certainly wasn't expecting to see you today. Still calling yourself Desiree? Not that there's anything wrong with that, Cooper. Anyway, what are you doing here? Swelling memories. Thank heavens for that. I was sure you were going to ask for help with yet another one of your exciting quests. By all means, we'd love to pass the time reminiscing about the good old days. And then better than now, Kupo. What with your friends visiting and all? Wait here, I'll fetch them. Ah, Candy Center's here as well. Full glad I'm to see you again this way. At a mock home of all places. Kupo, it really is you, and just when you were about to leave. I think it's wonderful, this pilgrimage of yours. A fine reflection upon the past, that you might face the future with eyes unclouded and a heart at peace. Few would deny that the events of recent days warrant such contemplation. When last we stood in this place, I dare say none among our number would have believed what was to follow. Young Astinian least of all. Upon learning what befell him at Azizla, I confess I thought him lost. But when Master Alfino told me of your great struggle of his salvation, I was reminded of your talent for the impossible. If you ask me, he seemed altogether too stubborn to die. Though I suppose it's no small feat to evict a spiteful worm once it had made its home in one's head. With Nidok's passing, the children of Ishgard and Ravania may at last look to the future. It is my hope, however, that they will not forget the deeds of history, nor the many thousands of lives lost in their conflict. For only through remembrance will they avoid the mistakes of the past. We thank you again for your hospitality, Chieftain Moglin, and pray that you will one day allow us to extend you the same courtesy. I wish you well on your journey, Desiree. May you ever walk in the light of a crystal. Until we meet again, Kupo! Even in the farthest reaches of distant, dangerous lands, one may challenge upon a friendly face. Though given to mischief and largely unconcerned by the troubles of the outside world, they came to understand Ishgard's plight and agreed to lend their aid. Eventually, that is. Make a camp south of Zenith. Like last time, but alone this time. Yep. The same place as last time. As fits. The crackling warmth of Alphino's campfire, the savory waft of Giselle's bubbling stew, the soft snoring of Morkan asleep on the grass. A cold wind blew that night as well, and on the morrow they mounted the steps and blew the horn, but having climbed to the summit with hope in their hearts, they descended dejected, weighed down by truths too grim to contemplate. Visit the Royal Promenade in Uldar. You there, over here quickly. I should have known you would see through my disguise after all. You have seen it before. But enough talk. We cannot linger here, lest the guards recognize the Sultana. As you may have deduced, I was taking the air outside the palace when I saw you standing there, staring off into space. Have you something on your mind? Just memories. I understand completely. So much has happened. So much has changed. And all in so short a space of time. Even now, I struggle to make sense of it all. But one thing at least is abundantly clear. I owe you an immense debt of gratitude for all you have done on my behalf, and on behalf of those whom I hold dear. After I awoke, Papa Shan told me everything. It was a lot to take in, but nothing could prepare me for what Lord Lorito had to say. That ruthless, manipulative swine came before me and expressed regret for what had come to pass, and thinking to make amends, offered all of Teleji Adeleji's assets, as well as half of his own personal fortune to the crown, and I accepted. Long did I debate how best to use this wealth. There's no end to the troubles facing our nation, and no shortage of worthwhile causes. Yet none among our people have suffered more than the refugees, and it is they who shall be the first to receive aid and succor. There's also the matter of the terrible wrongs committed against you and yours, for which I'm in large part responsible. Nay, do not protest. It is the truth. Accordingly, I set aside monies to aid in the Scion's rebuilding, if you would have them. That would be most welcome. Thank you, Your Grace. Pray do not thank me, not after all you have suffered. And know that I do not think to atone for my mistakes with money. It is but a tool which I would see put to good use. Oh, listen to me. So much for enjoying a moment's respite outside the palace walls. It rather seems that I have brought my responsibilities with me. I suppose I should return.
Lady Lyra, you must come home at once. Father's worried sick, you know. Ah, confounded, you lot search this area. I know she came through here.
On the other hand, it is essential that the ruler see first on how her subjects go about their daily lives. They have not visited the markets in weeks. It would seem a shame to let this opportunity go to waste. Desiree, might I impose upon you with a brief yet cordial conversation with our Sultan's one? I leave a choice of subject matter up to you. Take care. I beg your pardon, miss, but did you perchance see a young Lalafell noblewoman pass this way? Nope, sorry. Are you certain? Oh dear, dear. Master Papa Shan said this might happen, but I never truly believed he was serious. So, what's next? The triumphs we share. Wait, I know you. You're Desiree Klingor. What a stroke of luck. I can think of none better qualified to help us. You see, it is no mere noblewoman we seek. Ah, but Master Papa Shan was most explicit about the need for secrecy. Pray, forget I mentioned it. We will find the lady on our own. What cruel fate to lose her father as a child, and be compelled to rule in his stead. And over years had tempered her dreams and taught her, sometimes brutally, the price of naivety. Though outwardly unscathed by her ordeal, it was a wiser, more wary Nanamo who reclaimed the throne. Visit Alian in Revenant's Toll. So back to Revenant's Toll. Und Kaufers. Madonna. Alian. There you are, Desiree. You told me about your pilgrimage. I knew it was only a matter of time before you sought me out. I too have been reflecting on the choices which shaped my path. When I took to the road with my grandfather, when I joined the Crystal Braves, when I tried and failed to warn you before the banquet. I had my suspicion about Wilward's death, that it was the work of a Garlean spy within our ranks. But I could not be sure who was involved, hence my desire to speak with you in private. I thought long and hard about how to approach you without arousing suspicion. Perhaps too long. Eventually I decided to arrange a meeting through Mistress Momori. Little did I know that bastard Laurentius had seen me do it. Shortly thereafter, the fourth received urgent summons. Needless to say, I had no choice but to answer, and soon found myself at the mercy of Captain Ilbert's band of traitors. They confined me to the Rising Stones, along with others still loyal to the Scions. Riol, Evemy, Agmus. Quite what they had planned to do with us, I couldn't say. Maybe they thought we would turn, given time. Fools. Lieutenant Yu has a bit of fur to keep us under constant guard. When Captain Ilbert moved to carry out General Rauban's execution, they were forced to withdraw all but a token force, which we took by surprise one night. And then it was over. One might argue that it turned out better than it had any right to, all things considered. Still, there are nights when I lie awake wondering if I had done things differently, if I had been more careful or more decisive. What then? But there's not to be gained from thinking thus. We must count our blessings, must we not? We are still here, and most of what was broken can be rebuilt. You will see, Desiree. You will see. For the freedom of all, it had begun with an oath and ended with a betrayal, as the conspirators turned on their comrades for coin and country. The good and true were beaten and imprisoned, or else butchered where they stood. But even in their darkest moments, they never stopped believing that the dawn's light would shine again. And so we return to Ishgard. Well, hello there, Desiree. Fancy meeting you here. Hey, you two. Reminiscing about the glory days, huh? I've spent many a sleepless night hammering away at the corner of ours. How is the mana counter holding up, by the way? Still flies great. Ha, that's good to hear. If I had any doubts, like, our craftsmanship is second to none. Quite right. It will take more than swirling winds and raging dragons to bring her down. That, my friend, is an Ironworks guarantee. Speaking of which, on the back of a field test success, we've gone ahead and licensed the design for mass production. Soon the Skies manufacturer will be churning out mana cutters by the dozen. Which is why we're here today, as a matter of fact, to make sure that machinists don't bugger anything up. Apparently adventures have been queuing up to place an order, and even some sky pirates. Just imagining the sea of clouds teeming for our creations fills me with a father's pride. Right then, that's enough patting ourselves on the back. We've got to make sure the cutters are up to snuff, or Jesse will never let us see the end of it. From now till we finish, there'll be no more breaks, distractions, and not one wink of sleep, do you hear me? Well, we'll be leaving you to it the next time, huh? Despite the many hardships they had endured, or perhaps because of them, they greeted every new challenge with a smile. Their workshop, their battlefield, their tools, their weapons. They invariably rose to the occasion, delivering ingenious solutions to seemingly insoluble problems. The monstery in the churning mists. I think that we have a view of the area from there. Through tempestuous winds they carved a path, reaching the Dreadworm's sanctum, and there did they put him to the sword. Yet in the wake of hard-fought victory, their secrets laid bare in a vision dark and disturbing. The legacy of our fathers, bequeathed to their sons and passed down through the generations. Old blood enduring in the new, the mark of original sin. Visit Hilda. And there she is at last! Gabrielian said you were wandering all over, reminiscing about days gone by. Seems a bit soon if you ask me. It's not like I don't understand though. Some days I'll be walking through the broom, same as normal, and it'll hit me all of a sudden just how much has changed for us. Though I know it's a bit different from what you've been through. Puts me in mind of the first time I saw her and her friends up near the Everett, being shown around by that House Fortemps man. Oh, you never told me you'd met them before. It went so much a meeting as a heckling, to be honest. When I heard the guide warning them of paying a visit to the broom, it struck in my core. And you got to admit that Master Alvin was a spitting image of a snotty little lordling. A little lordling that went on to fight 2 knights of a Heavensward with Desiree here in a trial by combat, not to mention helping retake the vault from the two brothers. Fury have mercy, it feels like a bleeding lifetime ago, don't it? Cause it was. What we've got now is nothing like what came before. It's a bleeding rebirth is what it is. Cold comfort to the folk who died getting us here. Still, this piece is ours, and we owe it to ourselves to make the most of it. Meaning, we've got to work twice as hard to make the room a better place. And no more harassing blue bloods neither. Wherein? A world apart from the opulence of the pillars, they had toiled, shrouded in the haze of a broom. Sentenced to a life of hardship by birth, they dreamed of revolution as children dream of fairies. Then one came and went, and they suddenly found themselves with a seat at a table. I know you got to a shower bath in the end, but I have to admit I'm still a little bitter that it wasn't me. Give me reason to practice my marksmanship though. Visit Lonuvanu. Oh, close apart and let shine brilliant sun upon Lonuvanu. Great Neverling warrior returns to Oxundu on a pilgrimage of remembrance. Well. We bid you warmest welcome, slayer of false god and champion of fallen Gundu. The most fledgling village continues to grow and prosper, now free from the shadow of Wundu oppression. Yeah, because I did the Beast Tribe quests. But Lonuvanu is not one to forget Neverling's first coming, and she saves us from certain death at the hands of the Black Ones. Distant memory what is? Yes, the many deeds are the stuff of legends. We shall remember the stories and the hero's name, Desiree Klingmore, for they are worthy of celebration now and ever after. An honest, good-natured people, they had borne witness to the rage of our beloved god's twisted manifestation, and proclaimed it to be false. By the grace of kind travelers, they were duly delivered from its wrath, the mad god's death signaling the birth of a new hero. Visit Vimhitra in Vidania. Well met, Desiree. What brings you here this day? Indeed, for what seems an age, it was not all that long ago that we rescued the Stoller from the live stream. How quickly we begin to forget even those memories most precious to us. In my defense, I might add that I have rarely missed an opportunity to make new memories with my sister in the days since her return. Our conversations are largely on matters of scientific and professional concern. Ancient elegant technologies, primals, Astian and so forth. She has an insatiable thirst for knowledge, as you know. Yet while I understand her desire not to burden those around her with her troubles, and to carry on as she did before, I do worry that her willingness to manipulate her own effort to compensate for the loss of her sight may have dire repercussions. She what? She never told you, man? No, but of course not. It would rather have defeated the purpose. You should know that the technique she employs places a tremendous strain on her body. She is of course well aware of her limits and more than willing to ignore them should she deem it necessary. I pray you see that she does not. Regrettably, she is sworn to ignore my advice when it does not suit her. Yet, given your shared experiences, maybe she will be more willing to heed your warnings? Her sister was under no illusions as to the dangers of a life she had chosen. Should the worst come to the worst, the Stoller would do what needed to be done, pay any price, make any sacrifice, and that without hesitation. She was a woman of conviction, deserving of respect and admiration, and no small amount of worry. And with that we go to Idleshire.
Why must governing great Gobby nation be so difficult? Like herding cows, stupid cow with muchly differing views on glorious nation's future direction. Yes, as Lufik knows he's letting emotions run wild, Ablena's welcome voice of reason. Not like when Ablena first returned to Idleshire, yes? So much venom in one's confabs, calling Gobbyflock thieves. But Slowfix saw a way to mutual understanding. Citizenship in society first step in strengthening communal ties, given all vested interest in continued prosperity of egalitarian utopia.
The triumphs we share. The burdens we bear. For the final objective of this quest, you receive no guidance.
And now Slowfix bids Ablena fulfill civic duty as citizen of Idleshire with hand landing of great import. In caves south of settlement lives Old Crone, wielder of powerful magics used to craftily make frogmen that chase away curious gobbies. Ablena has made many business deals with Old Crone, yes? And Ablena can appeal to Crone's better nature and make a call of frogman harriers.
Well, this is a pleasant surprise. I'm well aware that you're only here because you want something, but at least you didn't bring your little friend, so out of it. Oh, is that what the goblins told you? That my servants were attacking their poor defenseless scouts without the slightest provocation? Ah! The little buggers were trying to eat them. We're lucky I didn't have my poor ogres return the favor. But you can tell them for me that if they try it again, I will personally feed them to my servants, one limb at a time. I hope you didn't come all this way to play errand girl for those dirty little scroungers. No, our journey of reminiscence guides me. Aren't you a bit young to be going on grand journeys of reflection? You haven't lived long enough to have so many regrets. The same goes for that boy complaining that things hadn't unfolded as he had dreamed they would. It makes no difference what should have happened to Menphilia. What matters is what did happen. The past is the past, and no amount of wishing you'd done things differently will make it so. You make your choices and do what needs to be done. That's it. That's the attitude you came here the first time, when you wanted to find a way to get to Azizla, and would do well to remember it. Right then, I think you wasted enough of my time, bad enough that I have to suffer Stoller's unannounced visits. I don't need you making a habit of it too. She was a sum of everything that had come before. triumphs, failures, all essential, all indispensable. And things unfolded differently, so too would she. What use then to mourn the woman who never was? It was only this time, this place, this choice. Mayhap if I hung a sign around the neck saying Goblin Eater in big red letters, they'd think twice? You spy something on the ground at the landing's edge. Blue bouquet. A bouquet of fresh Namia lilies lies at your feet. An offering for the departed. A thousand fires blossomed around her as she fell toward the battleship. A crimson star shower amidst the impassive clouds. Then came the azure light, faint at first, soon blinding, then shattering, casting motes of diamond to the four winds. For those we have lost. These flowers were placed by Estinian. This is in a short story for Heavensward. The Estinian, after recovering, went around and placed flowers for important people like Giselle, like Vatatoska, I think even for Nidok. And where he gets, and from that journey he gets the Stormblood armor. Child of man, chosen of Heidelin, naught remaineth for thee here, save the delusions of a condemned. In my madness did I spy my departed's brood brother in yonder skies, though I know it cannot be so. What sayest thou? My senses are yet mine own? Then he whom I saw was but my dead brother's rancor clad in mortal flesh? And what is deliver him unto death's cold embrace? I bear thee no ill will, child. 'Tis beyond me. All my hatreds are bound up in moments ephemeral and eternal. My beloved's passing, and his resurrection. I am no better than Nidok. Consumed by love, twisted by rage, I too sought vengeance without end. Yet thou hast since renounced it, hast thou not? For millennia have I watched as time did that which I could not, as a man of Allah perished and their works fell to ruin, leaving me think on mine own sins in solitude. What folly to despise man his base desires, when hatred's hand so effortlessly drove me to take Asian red. Whether? Then look thou on him again with eyes unclouded, and Maukari laboureth to rise above his nature, how he and Racebuilder's brood Now raise your voices in a shared song of peace. 'Tis my dearest hope that it shall prove the founding stone of a bulwark against the dark. As time delivered a lark unto its reward, so too will it prove this peace true or fleeting, as I remain here, apart and watch. Chosen of Heidelin, it is well if thou camest unto me in contemplation, but the road stretcheth ever on, and the battle is not yet won. True. Perhaps there was hope for them. Perhaps this time they would learn and remember. But her part in the tale had ended long ago. Within this monument to hubris would she remain until the end of days, beyond redemption. But she isn't anymore. The Undying Ones were defiant, unbelieving even as death embraced them. Then the knights too succumbed, loyal to the last of a cause long lost. His body growing light, the Archbishop looked upon the arbiter of his fate, and knew not what he saw. When it was over, naught remained save the eyes, thinking to bear them away from the covetous hands of man. Estinian took the accursed baubles in his own, and was duly bent to their will, if only for a time. At a friend's behest they embarked on their journey, and so, after a triumphant homecoming, over pomp and circumstance, there was but one way it could end. Pay respects to a friend. And who else could it be but Orchefort? This is a part that goes unannounced. If you do not know which friend you pay respects to, then you are lost, but it is really obvious it's Orchefort. Orchefort. The emote. You have learned the emote Orchefort. And Frenzel is here. And we get the achievement on the road again. Bye, Frenzel. Come, where is it? Good. But that shall be it for this episode, I think, with the end of a reminiscence about Heavensward. Until next time, I'm Mace, and don't get lost.